The morning sun rose over New Jeju like it had for the past 300 years. Dae-ho Kim stood on his balcony, watching the farmers tend their crops in the valley below. As Chancellor of the Terran Federation, he ruled over 847 star systems, but he preferred quiet moments like these. Peace had been humanity's greatest achievement. 3,000 years had passed since the last war. 3,000 years since humans had fired weapons in anger or conquered new worlds. The galaxy knew them as the peaceful builders, the species that had ended the great galactic wars by bringing enemies together around negotiation tables instead of battlefields. Jiwoo Park checked her morning reports at the new Jeju Colony Administration Center. The agricultural yields were up 12% from last year. The terraforming project was ahead of schedule. Crime was practically non-existent. Her biggest concern was organizing the Harvest Festival next month. Life was good on the Outer Rim worlds. "Commander Park?" called Hye-jin Lee, walking into the office with a smile. "The botanical research teams found 3 new plant species yesterday. Dr. Chen thinks they might help with soil enrichment on the newer worlds." Jiwoo nodded and made a note in her daily log. This was what mattered now. Growth, discovery, building better lives for the 2.3 million people who called New Jeju home. War was something she had only read about in history books. On Earth, in the deep archives beneath the capital city, Taiman Choi walked through halls that few humans had ever seen. His job was simple but important: keep the old records safe and secret. The walls around him held the complete history of humanity's military past, sealed away from public view for 3 millennia. Most people had forgotten what humans could do when pushed to fight. The younger alien species in the galaxy had never learned why their ancestors once whispered about the sleeping Terrans in frightened voices. This was exactly how humanity wanted it. Taemin stopped at a massive vault door marked with symbols that warned of dangerous knowledge within. Behind that door lay the technical specifications for weapons that could crack planets, ships that could move faster than light itself, and defensive systems that could protect entire solar systems. All of it gathering dust, all of it waiting. The secret was simple. Humanity had never stopped advancing their military technology. They had simply hidden it so well that the galaxy believed they had become weak and defenseless. Every agricultural world had underground bunkers. Every research station doubled as a sensor network. Every civilian transport could become a warship at a moment's notice. Far across the galaxy in the Andromeda Spiral, War Prime Vextar studied star charts with hungry eyes. The reptilian leader of the Krillian Confederation had built his empire by conquering the weak and absorbing their resources. In 2 centuries, his forces had crushed 47 different species and claimed their worlds. "The humans control the richest systems in this part of the galaxy," he hissed to his war council. "Agricultural worlds, mining operations, research facilities, all poorly defended. They have grown soft during their long peace." Admiral Korth, his chief military advisor, pulled up intelligence reports on the main display. "Our spies confirm it, War Prime. Their ships carry no visible weapons. Their worlds have no orbital defense platforms. They rely entirely on diplomacy and trade agreements for protection." The irony was perfect. Humanity's greatest strength had become their apparent weakness in alien eyes. Their ability to maintain peace through quiet strength was mistaken for an inability to fight at all. Soo-jin Han sat in a dingy bar on a neutral trading station, counting the credits she had earned selling information to alien smugglers. The former human merchant had turned traitor years ago, providing details about human shipping routes and colony defenses to anyone willing to pay. She told herself it was just business, but the truth was simpler. She was bitter that humanity had chosen peace over profit. "The Outer Rim colonies are completely undefended," she told a Krillian intelligence officer across the table. "Take New Jeju, for example. 2 million settlers, rich farmland, and not a single weapon platform in the entire system. They wouldn't last a day against a real military force." What Soo-jin didn't know was that human intelligence had been watching her for 5 years. Every piece of information she sold was carefully chosen to support the illusion of human weakness. She was an unwitting tool in a deception that stretched across the galaxy. On the hidden fortress world of Terra Prime, Admiral So-young Lim reviewed the latest intelligence reports. The Krillians were making their move, just as the strategic computers had predicted they would eventually. Aggressive species always tested boundaries, and humanity's apparent pacifism made them an attractive target. Begin Phase 1 of the Awakening Protocol, she ordered her staff. Alert all Shadow Fleet commanders. The long peace is about to end. Across human space, subtle changes began. Cargo ships altered their routes slightly. Research stations ran diagnostic checks on equipment that the galaxy didn't know existed. Underground facilities that appeared to be storage bunkers started bringing their defensive systems online for the first time in centuries. The beauty of the human strategy was its patience. For 3,000 years, they had been content to appear weak, while secretly becoming the most advanced military force in galactic history. They had learned from their ancestors' mistakes. True strength didn't need to be displayed until the moment it was needed. Young Soo Kim monitored alien communications from his listening post on the edge of human space. The Krillian fleet movements were increasing. Scout ships were probing human territory more frequently. War was coming, and the aliens had no idea what they were about to wake up. As night fell over New Jeju, Jiwoo Park locked up her office and walked home through peaceful streets. Children played in the parks. Couples enjoyed dinner at outdoor restaurants. Musicians performed on street corners. It was a perfect picture of civilization at its best. But deep beneath the colony, in chambers that didn't appear on any civilian map, automated systems were quietly coming online. Weapon batteries that could destroy entire fleets powered up for the first time in 3 centuries. The sleeping giant was beginning to stir, and the galaxy was about to remember why peace had lasted so long in human space. The Krillians believed they were about to conquer easy prey. Instead, they were about to learn why the most dangerous enemies were often those who chose not to fight, until they had no other choice. War Prime Vextar stood before the massive display screen in his command ship, watching the final preparations for what he called Operation Soft Target. The human colony of New Jeju appeared on the screen, a green world full of farms and research stations, defended by nothing more than civilian security forces. 200 ships should be more than enough, Admiral Korth reported. Our intelligence indicates they have no military vessels in the system, just cargo haulers and scientific research ships. The War Prime's scaled lips pulled back in what his species considered a smile. Begin the attack. Show the galaxy what happens to species that forget how to defend themselves. The Krillian fleet jumped into hyperspace, confident they were about to claim an easy victory. Behind them, hidden sensors throughout the galaxy detected their movement and sent coded messages racing ahead at speeds faster than any ship could travel. On New Jeju, Jiwoo Park was reviewing harvest reports when her communication device chimed with an emergency signal. The message was brief and used codes she had hoped never to see. Hostile fleet approaching. Awakening protocol authorized. All civilians to shelter immediately. She stared at the screen for a moment, her peaceful world suddenly transformed. For 3,000 years, no alien force had dared attack human territory. That time had just ended. Attention all residents, she broadcast across the colony's communication network. This is not a drill. Emergency Protocol 7 is now in effect. All civilians report to designated shelter areas immediately. Colonial Defense Force personnel report to stations. What the colonists didn't know was that their Colonial Defense Force was far more than it appeared. Min Ho-yoon, captain of the cargo vessel Silent Current, received his orders and felt a mixture of excitement and dread. He had trained for this moment his entire career but hoped it would never come. Boram, initiate transformation sequence, he ordered his chief engineer. Looks like we finally get to show these aliens why nobody attacks human worlds. Boram Song's fingers danced across control panels that looked nothing like standard cargo ship equipment. Transformation beginning, Captain. Weapon systems coming online. Defense screens deploying. Hull reconfiguration in progress. The Silent Current began to change. External cargo pods detached to reveal weapon emplacements. The plane hull shifted as armor plating emerged from hidden compartments. Scanner arrays unfolded like deadly flowers. Within minutes, the simple cargo hauler had become something that belonged in an alien's worst nightmare. Admiral Korth's fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the New Jeju system, expecting to see defenseless farming settlements and research stations. Instead, their sensors immediately detected something impossible. A massive energy signature coming from what their intelligence had described as a simple cargo ship. Sir, we're reading weapon signatures unlike anything in our database, reported the sensor officer, his voice uncertain. That cargo vessel, it's transformed into something else entirely. Admiral Korth studied the display with growing concern. Impossible. Human ships don't carry weapons. Our intelligence is certain of this. But intelligence could be wrong, and what appeared on his screen suggested it was very wrong indeed. The human vessel was broadcasting a message on all frequencies. Unknown warships, you are in violation of Terran Federation space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. War Prime Vextar's image appeared on Admiral Korth's communication screen. A single ship threatens our entire fleet. Destroy it and proceed with the invasion. These humans are trying to bluff their way out of defeat. Admiral Korth gave the order to attack, and 200 Krillian warships opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams and missile swarms filled space, all targeted at the lone human vessel. The aliens expected to see the ship destroyed in seconds. Instead, something extraordinary happened. The human ship's defensive screens absorbed the incoming fire, like it was nothing more than harsh sunlight. Energy weapons that could crack asteroids simply disappeared into what looked like holes in space itself. Missiles that could level cities were somehow redirected back at the ships that fired them. Min Ho-yoon watched the enemy fire with calm, professional interest. Dimensional defense screens are holding at 98% efficiency, he reported to his crew. Return fire authorized. Let's show them what 3,000 years of peaceful development really means. The silent currents weapons came online with a sound like reality tearing apart. Gravitational cannons fired projectiles that bent space around them, creating gravity wells that pulled enemy ships out of formation. Quantum disruption beams reached across impossible distances to disable alien vessels without warning. Reality warping torpedoes opened temporary black holes that swallowed entire squadrons. Admiral Korth watched in growing horror as his fleet was systematically destroyed by a single human vessel using technology that shouldn't exist. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were being eliminated as easily as insects. How is this possible? He transmitted to the human ship. You're supposed to be peaceful. Civilian, defenseless. Min Ho-yoon's response came back immediately. We are peaceful. That's why we're only destroying your military vessels instead of tracking this attack back to your homeworlds. Surrender now and we'll accept your retreat. But Admiral Korth was too shocked and too proud to surrender. He ordered his remaining ships to continue the attack, not understanding that he was only making his situation worse. The Battle of New Jeju lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it ended, the silent current floated alone in space, surrounded by the wreckage of what had once been the Krillian Confederation's proudest fleet. A few escape pods drifted among the debris, carrying terrified survivors who had witnessed something that changed their understanding of the galaxy forever. On the planet below, civilians emerged from their shelters to see the remains of an alien invasion force scattered across their sky like falling stars. The peaceful farmers and researchers of New Jeju had been protected by technology so advanced it seemed like magic. Young-soo, Kim intercepted the emergency transmissions from the Krillian escape pods as they fled the system. The messages they were sending back to their leaders painted a picture of human capabilities that was both accurate and terrifying. The humans have been hiding their true strength. Their cargo ships are warships beyond our understanding. We cannot defeat them with conventional forces. But the most important message was one that Young-soo detected on deep space channels. The Krillian Confederation was mobilizing their entire military force. 50,000 ships were being gathered from across their empire. War Prime Vextar refused to believe that one human vessel could represent the true strength of their species. The alien leader was making the same mistake that had doomed his advance fleet. He was assuming that what he had seen was the limit of human capability, rather than just a small sample of what 3,000 years of hidden development could produce. Admiral So-young Lim received the battle reports on Terra Prime with satisfaction, but no surprise. The engagement had proceeded exactly as the strategic computers had predicted. The enemy had been given a demonstration of human power, and instead of learning wisdom from it, they had chosen to escalate. Send word to all fleet commanders, she ordered. The Krillians are mobilizing for full-scale war. Begin Phase 2 of the Awakening Protocol. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity has really been doing during our long peace. Across human space, the transformation accelerated. Agricultural worlds revealed hidden weapon installations. Research stations deployed defense networks that spanned entire star systems. Civilian transports shed their disguises to become warships that would make alien admirals weep. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity's 3,000 years of peace hadn't been a sign of weakness. It had been the longest military preparation in galactic history, and the Krillian Confederation had just volunteered to be the test subjects for technologies that defied everything other species thought they knew about warfare. War Prime Vextar believed he was about to crush a weak and defenseless species. Instead, he had awakened something that had been patiently waiting for exactly this moment. A sleeping giant that was about to remind the galaxy why peace had lasted so long in human space. Chancellor Dae-Ho Kim stood in the Emergency Council chamber on Earth, surrounded by holographic displays showing Krillian fleet movements across the galaxy. The reports were sobering. 50,000 alien warships were converging on human space, the largest military force assembled in over a millennium. "They've learned nothing from New Jeju," reported Defense Minister Eun Jung-kwon. "Our intelligence networks indicate War Prime. Vextar believes the silent current was our most powerful vessel. He thinks overwhelming numbers will guarantee victory." Admiral So Young Lim stepped forward, her expression calm despite the magnitude of the threat they faced. "Chancellor, the Krillian fleet is 100 times larger than any force we've encountered in 3,000 years. However, they're about to discover why we've spent those years preparing instead of fighting." Dae-Ho Kim nodded slowly. The moment humanity had hoped would never come was finally here. For 3 millennia, they had maintained peace through careful diplomacy and the illusion of weakness. Now that illusion had been shattered and the galaxy was about to learn the truth. "Activate the awakening protocol," he ordered. "Full implementation across all human territories. It's time to show them what we've really been building." The order went out on quantum communication channels that moved faster than light itself, reaching every human world simultaneously. On agricultural planets, mining colonies, and research stations throughout the galaxy, systems that had been hidden for centuries began coming online. Director Jae-sung Oh watched from the command center of New Seoul Prime as his world transformed before his eyes. Beneath the peaceful farming communities and university campuses, massive structures rose from underground chambers that didn't appear on any civilian map. Weapon platforms that could destroy entire fleets emerged from hidden silos. Defense screens that could protect the entire planet flickered to life around the world's atmosphere. Phase 1 complete, he reported to Admiral Lim. All concealed installations are operational. Estimated defensive capability, we can hold against any force up to 10,000 ships. Similar reports flooded in from across human space. The peaceful worlds that aliens had dismissed as easy targets were revealing themselves to be fortress systems, with defensive capabilities that defied comprehension. General Hyun-woo. Nam coordinated the activation of the Terra defense grid from his command post beneath the Earth's surface. What the galaxy had known as scientific research, stations and commercial trading hubs were actually nodes in a defensive network that spanned hundreds of star systems. Grid synchronization at optimal levels, he reported. All stations are linked and ready for coordinated defense. We can track and engage hostile forces from the moment they enter human space. The defense grid was humanity's greatest secret, a network of installations that could share targeting data instantaneously across impossible distances, allowing them to coordinate defensive actions on a galactic scale. Enemy fleets would find themselves facing not individual planetary defenses, but a unified system that could concentrate overwhelming firepower at any point of attack. On the hidden shipyard world of New Busan, Dr. Mi Young-shin initiated protocols that had been waiting 3,000 years for activation. The planet's core contained manufacturing, facilities that most species would consider impossible, automated systems that could build warships using matter converted directly from energy. "Production lines are coming online," she reported. "First-wave vessels will be ready for deployment in 6 hours. These ships incorporate every advancement we've made during the peaceful years." What emerged from the planet's hidden factories were vessels that looked like they belonged in a future several centuries ahead of the current galactic standard. Ships with hulls that could repair themselves, engines that manipulated space-time for faster-than-light travel, and weapons that operated on principles other species had never discovered. Captain Dong-hyun Lee took command of the battlecruiser Iron Harmony as it emerged from its concealed dock beneath New Busan's surface. The ship was beautiful in the way that perfectly engineered technology could be. Sleek lines that spoke of incredible speed, weapon systems that were works of art in themselves, and sensors that could detect enemy movements across multiple dimensions. All systems optimal, reported his sensor officer. We're reading the approaching Krillian fleet clearly despite being 3-star systems away. They have no idea we can see them coming. The Iron Harmony and its sister ships represented the pinnacle of human military technology. They were faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen, more powerful than alien strategists thought possible, and equipped with defensive systems that made them nearly invulnerable to conventional weapons. But the ships were only part of humanity's hidden strength. On research stations throughout human space, scientists like Dr. Changmin Park activated projects that had been developing in secret for centuries. Gravitational manipulation technology that could create artificial black holes. Quantum communication systems that allowed instant coordination across the galaxy. Reality-altering weapons that could make enemy ships simply cease to exist. The Stellar Pacification Array is online, Dr. Park reported from his deep space laboratory. We can now influence stellar activity in any star system within our sensor range. If necessary, we can make hostile suns go supernova. It was humanity's ultimate deterrent, the ability to destroy entire star systems by triggering their central stars to explode. The technology had been developed as a last resort, but its mere existence changed the strategic balance of any conflict. Young-Soo Kim monitored alien communications from his enhanced listening post, now revealed to be one of the most sophisticated intelligence-gathering facilities in the galaxy. The conversations he intercepted painted a picture of growing alien confusion and fear. The Krillians are reporting massive energy signatures throughout human space, he informed Admiral Lim. Their scouts are detecting defensive installations that weren't there yesterday. They're beginning to realize they may have made a serious mistake. But War Prime Vextar refused to be deterred. The reptilian leader had built his empire through conquest and couldn't conceive of a species that would choose peace over expansion. Even faced with evidence of human military capability, he convinced himself that the humans were bluffing. Increase fleet speed, he ordered his admirals. The humans are trying to frighten us with defensive displays. Once we engage their forces directly, their weakness will be revealed. On Earth, Taemin Choi unsealed vault doors that had been closed for 3 millennia, revealing archives that contained the complete history of human military development. The records showed a pattern that would have terrified any alien strategist who could have seen them. Humanity had never stopped advancing their capabilities. They had simply hidden their progress from the galaxy. The aliens think 3,000 years of peace made us weak, he told Chancellor Kim. They don't understand that it gave us 3,000 years to perfect the art of war without the distraction of actual fighting. The truth was elegant in its simplicity. While other species had spent millennia fighting each other and stagnating, technologically, humanity had focused entirely on peaceful development and defensive preparation. The result was a military capability gap so vast that conventional strategic thinking no longer applied. Admiral So Young Lim studied the final deployment reports with satisfaction. Every human world was now revealed as a fortress. Every civilian vessel had transformed into a warship. Every research station was armed with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. The peaceful facade that had protected humanity for 3,000 years was gone, replaced by the most powerful military force in galactic history. All systems are operational, she reported to Chancellor Kim. We're ready for whatever they bring against us. The galaxy watched in stunned amazement as humanity's true nature was revealed. The peaceful builders who had ended the great galactic wars hadn't abandoned their military strength. They had perfected it beyond all recognition. The Krillian Confederation was about to learn why no species had successfully challenged human territory in 3,000 years. The sleeping giant was fully awake now, and it was about to remind the galaxy why some species chose peace not from weakness, but from strength so overwhelming that war became pointless. The Krillians had made their choice. Now they would face the consequences of awakening something that had been waiting patiently for exactly this moment. Admiral So Young Lim stood in the command center of Terra Prime, surrounded by holographic displays showing the positions of 50,000 Krillian warships approaching human space. Instead of fear, Her expression showed the calm confidence of someone who had been preparing for this moment her entire career. "Begin the convergence gambit," she ordered her staff. "All fleet commanders are authorized to execute Operation Mirror Strike." What happened next would be remembered as the most brilliant military strategy in galactic history. Rather than waiting for the Krillians to attack human worlds, humanity launched coordinated strikes against the home territories of all 16 species in the alien coalition, while their fleets were away preparing to invade human space. Their own worlds were left virtually defenseless. Captain Woojin Bei commanded the stealth destroyer Quiet Thunder as it materialized inside the Krillian home system without warning. His ship had used cloaking technology that rendered it invisible to every known sensor type, allowing it to appear directly above the enemy capital world. "Target acquired," reported his weapons officer. "All Krillian command centers are within range." The Quiet Thunder's weapons were precision instruments designed for surgical strikes rather than massive destruction. Energy beams that could cut through any known material, sliced through Krillian military installations with perfect accuracy. Communication centers, strategic databases, and fleet coordination facilities were eliminated in minutes. "Primary objectives complete," Woojin reported. "Enemy command structure has been neutralized. They can no longer coordinate their fleet movements." Similar strikes were happening simultaneously across 17 star systems. Human stealth ships appeared without warning in the heart of alien territory, destroying military infrastructure with weapons that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics. Meanwhile, at the Vortex Nebula, Commander Seojun Park prepared to demonstrate why human technology had advanced so far beyond galactic standards. His ship, the Dimensional Anchor, faced a Krillian fleet of over 8,000 vessels attempting to reach human space through the nebula's twisted space-time passages. "Begin gravitational manipulation sequence," he ordered his crew. "Let's show them how 3,000 years of peaceful research can be applied to warfare." The Dimensional Anchor activated technology that treated gravity like a tool rather than a natural force. Artificial gravity wells appeared throughout the nebula, creating invisible traps that pulled Krillian ships off course. Enemy vessels found themselves caught in gravitational spirals they couldn't escape, their own momentum used against them. "Sir, the enemy fleet is caught in the gravity matrix," reported his navigation officer. "They're being pulled into collision courses with each other. We're destroying them without firing a single conventional weapon." Within hours, 8,000 Krillian warships had been eliminated by forces they couldn't even detect, let alone fight against. The survivors sent panicked messages back to their leadership, reporting attacks by invisible weapons that control gravity itself. Strategic Coordinator Yujin Chai orchestrated the Cascade Protocol from her command center on Earth. Her task was to cripple the alien coalition's ability to supply and coordinate their forces by destroying the infrastructure that held their empire. Together, Phase 1 complete, she reported to Admiral Lim. All major communication relays in enemy territory have been eliminated. Phase 2 beginning now. Supply line interdiction. Human forces struck at the hidden supply depots, fuel refineries, and manufacturing centers that kept the Krillian war machine running. Ships that could travel faster than light itself appeared and disappeared like ghosts, leaving destroyed facilities in their wake. Enemy fleet elements are reporting critical fuel shortages, Yujin continued. Without their supply lines, they can't maintain their advance toward human space. But humanity's most shocking capability was yet to be revealed. Admiral Sung-ho commanded the deployment of the Stellar Pacification Array from his Deep Space Command ship, surrounded by installations that most aliens would have mistaken for astronomical research stations. "Array synchronization complete," he reported. "We have targeting locks on the primary stars of all enemy home systems. Stellar destabilization is ready for activation on your command." The message that followed was broadcast on every frequency the galaxy used, reaching every species simultaneously. "This is Admiral Seung-ho Oh of the Terran Federation. We have the capability to trigger supernova events in any star system within our sensor range. This is not a threat, it is a statement of fact. Any species that continues to support aggression against human territory will see their home star go supernova." To prove the point wasn't empty, the array targeted an uninhabited star system in neutral space. Within minutes, the star began showing signs of instability. Within hours, it exploded in a spectacular supernova that could be seen from hundreds of light years away. The galaxy fell silent. Every alien strategist suddenly understood that humanity possessed the ultimate weapon, the ability to destroy entire species by making their suns explode. The balance of power hadn't just shifted, it had been completely redefined. War Prime Vextar received reports from across his crumbling empire with growing horror. His homeworlds were under attack by ships that appeared from nowhere. His supply lines had been cut by forces he couldn't detect. His communication networks had been destroyed by weapons that shouldn't exist. How is this possible? He demanded of his remaining advisors. They're supposed to be peaceful farmers and researchers. Admiral Korth, commanding what remained of the Krillian fleet, tried to explain the impossible situation they faced. War Prime, the humans have been hiding their true capabilities for 3,000 years. Every piece of intelligence we had was wrong. They're not weak. They're the most advanced military force in the galaxy. But Vextar's pride wouldn't let him accept defeat. Accelerate the attack. All ships maximum speed toward human space. We'll destroy their worlds before they can use their weapons. It was exactly the response Admiral Lim had predicted. The alien leader's inability to accept the reality of human strength would lead him to make increasingly desperate decisions, each one making his situation worse. Captain Min Ho-yoon, now commanding a battle group of 12 transformed warships, intercepted the Krillian advance fleet as it approached the outer edge of human space. His vessels had been waiting in the void between stars, invisible to enemy sensors until the moment they chose to reveal themselves. Unknown alien fleet, you are entering Terran Federation space, he broadcast. Turn back immediately or face destruction. The Krillian fleet commander, desperate to salvage something from the failing invasion, ordered his ships to attack. It was the last mistake he would ever make. The human warships responded with technology that made the Battle of New Jeju look like a simple demonstration. Weapons that operated outside normal space-time eliminated enemy vessels before they could even register being under attack. Defensive systems that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously made the human ships effectively invulnerable to conventional weapons. Enemy fleet destroyed, Minho reported. No human casualties. The path to our inner worlds remains secure. Young-Soo Kim monitored the aftermath from his intelligence station, watching as the Krillian coalition fell apart in real time. Species after species was abandoning the alliance, desperately trying to negotiate separate peace treaties with humanity before their home stars were targeted for destruction. The coalition is collapsing, he reported. 12 species have already withdrawn their forces and are requesting negotiation. The remaining allies are in full retreat. Admiral Lim reviewed the battle reports with professional satisfaction. Operation Mirror Strike had achieved everything it was designed to accomplish. The enemy coalition was broken, their military capability was neutralized, and their leadership was facing the complete failure of their expansion strategy. Send a message to War Prime Vextar, she ordered. Inform him that we're prepared to accept his unconditional surrender. However, he should understand that any further aggressive actions will result in the supernova of his home star. The message that came back revealed the depth of Vextar's desperation. We demand negotiation. The Krillian Confederation is willing to discuss terms. Chancellor Dae-ho Kim's response was delivered personally, his words carrying the weight of 3,000 years of careful patience finally exhausted. War Prime Vextar, you attacked our children. You targeted peaceful civilians who had never threatened you. There will be no negotiation. There will be no terms. There will only be surrender. The galaxy watched as the most powerful military alliance in recent history crumbled before human forces that seemed to operate by rules no other species understood. The peaceful builders had revealed themselves to be something far more dangerous. Warriors who had spent 3 millennia perfecting the art of war without anyone realizing it. The Krillian Confederation's dream of easy conquest had become a nightmare of complete defeat, and the galaxy was beginning to understand that humanity's long peace hadn't been maintained through weakness, but through strength so overwhelming that no one had dared to test it until now. 6 months after the first Krillian ship had entered human space, War Prime Vextar knelt in the ruins of his command center, signing documents that formally dissolved the Krillian Confederation. Around him, his former allies had already fled, desperately trying to distance themselves from the failed invasion that had awakened humanity's true power. Ambassador Hae Young-shin watched the surrender ceremony with calm professionalism, But every alien diplomat in the room could feel the fear her presence inspired. She had become the most powerful negotiator in galactic history, not through threats or intimidation, but simply by representing a species that could end any war decisively. The terms are simple, she explained to the gathered alien representatives. All military assets of the former Confederation will be transferred to civilian reconstruction projects. Former member species will contribute to humanitarian efforts throughout the galaxy for the next 50 years. Any resumption of aggressive expansion will result in immediate stellar pacification of the offending species' home system. The aliens signed without argument. They had seen what happened to species that challenged human authority, and none of them wanted their home stars turned into supernovas. Director Chiol-min Yang oversaw the establishment of the Galactic Accountability Commission from his new headquarters on the former Krillian capital world. The 12 species that had participated in the attack on New Jeju found themselves assigned to peaceful projects that would occupy their military capabilities for generations. The Zelthari fleet will be converted to cargo haulers for delivering medical supplies to underserved world, he announced to the Commission's first meeting. The Morphin Armada will become a construction force for building schools and hospitals in war-torn regions. Every ship that once carried weapons of conquest will now carry tools of peace. It was a transformation that would have seemed impossible 6 months earlier, but the demonstration of human military capability had convinced even the most aggressive species that cooperation was their only viable option. On Earth, Chancellor Dae-Ho Kim addressed the Galactic Assembly for the first time in 3,000 years. The vast hall was packed with representatives from hundreds of species, all waiting to hear what humanity's plans were for the galaxy they now clearly dominated. 3 millennia ago, we chose peace over conquest, he began, his words broadcast to every inhabited world in known space. We withdrew from galactic politics not because we were weak, but because we believed strength should be used to protect rather than to dominate. The assembled aliens listened in complete silence, understanding that they were hearing from the leader of the most powerful species in galactic history. The events of recent months have forced us to reveal capabilities we had hoped never to use, Kim continued. But our fundamental philosophy remains unchanged. We prefer peace, but we will use whatever force is necessary to protect innocent beings from aggression. Cultural attaché Bitna. Ryu spent her days meeting with neutral species that had watched the Krillian conflict with growing amazement. These civilizations, having witnessed humanity's true military capabilities, were eager to establish new partnerships and protection agreements. The Centauri Federation would like to formalize a mutual defense treaty, she reported to the Chancellor. They're offering complete access to their trade networks in exchange for protection against future aggressors. Similar requests flooded in from across the galaxy. Species that had remained neutral during the conflict now understood that alliance with humanity offered security that no other force could provide. Captain Ji-Woo Park, now promoted to system governor of New Jeju, watched as her world was rebuilt into something even more beautiful than before. The planet had become a symbol of humanity's dual nature, peaceful and productive, but absolutely protected by defensive capabilities that defied conventional understanding. The new Galactic Conflict Resolution Center is ready for operation, she reported to Earth. Representatives from 47 species have already requested mediation services for their territorial disputes. New Jeju had become the diplomatic heart of a new galactic order where conflicts were resolved through negotiation rather than warfare, backed by the implicit understanding that humanity possessed the power to enforce peaceful solutions. Dr. Tae-min Choi carefully catalogued the records of humanity's military awakening in his archives, preparing them for another long period of hidden storage. The galaxy now knew that humans possessed advanced military technology, but the full extent of their capabilities remained secret. The deception infrastructure is being rebuilt, he reported to Admiral Lim. Within a generation, most species will again believe they understand the limits of human military power. The next time someone threatens our civilians, they'll be just as surprised as the Krillians were. It was a lesson learned from 3,000 years of peace. True security came not from displaying strength, but from ensuring that potential enemies underestimated that strength until it was too late for them to avoid the consequences of aggression. Admiral So Young Lim reviewed the post-war strategic situation from her command center on Terra Prime. The Shadow Fleet was returning to its hidden bases, once again disguised as civilian vessels and research stations. The Stellar Pacification Array was powering down, its installations resuming their cover as astronomical observatories. Transition to peacetime configuration is 90% complete, she reported. All evidence of our true military capabilities is being concealed or disguised. To outside observers, it will appear that we're returning to our peaceful ways. But the galaxy would never again make the mistake of believing humanity was defenseless. The memory of the Krillian defeat would be passed down through generations of alien strategists, a permanent reminder of what happened to species that threatened human civilians. Young-Soo Kim monitored communications throughout the galaxy from his intelligence station, listening to the conversations of species that were still trying to understand what they had witnessed. The common theme was amazement and fear, amazement at human technological capabilities, and fear of what might happen to anyone who tested those capabilities again. The deterrent effect is complete, he reported. No species is showing any interest in challenging human territory. The galaxy has entered what appears to be a permanent state of peace. Min-Ho Yoon commanded one final patrol mission aboard the Silent Current, now returned to its disguise as a simple cargo vessel. His ship carried supplies for the reconstruction efforts on former Krillian worlds, a symbol of humanity's commitment to building rather than destroying. All sectors report normal traffic, he broadcast to the monitoring stations. No hostile activity detected anywhere in human space. The galaxy appears to have learned its lesson. On the rebuilt capital of New Jeju, a memorial was constructed to honor the brief but decisive conflict that had reshaped galactic civilization. The inscription was simple but profound. In memory of those who chose war over peace, and in honor of those who ended that war decisively. Chancellor Kim stood before the memorial as representatives from across the galaxy gathered for its dedication. The ceremony marked not just the end of the Krillian conflict, but the beginning of a new era where peace was maintained through demonstrated strength rather than hoped-for goodwill. Today we dedicate this memorial to a simple truth, he announced. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of justice backed by the power to enforce it. For 3,000 years we maintained peace through patience and diplomacy. When that failed, we maintained it through strength and determination. The galaxy entered its new age with a clear understanding of the rules. Species could pursue their own development and expansion through peaceful means, with human protection available to those who chose cooperation over conquest. But any return to aggressive expansion would face the full might of humanity's military capabilities. As the memorial ceremony concluded, and the alien delegates departed for their home worlds, the galaxy settled into what historians would later call the Great Peace, an era of unprecedented stability and prosperity maintained by a simple understanding. Humanity preferred peace, but they possessed the power to end any war decisively. The sleeping giant had awakened, reminded the galaxy why peace was preferable to conflict, and then returned to its patient watch. But now every species in known space understood that some giants chose to sleep not from weakness, but from kindness, and that awakening them was a mistake no intelligent species would make twice. The stars shone peacefully over worlds that would never again see the devastation of galactic warfare, protected by guardians who had learned that the greatest strength was the wisdom to use power only when absolutely necessary. Humanity had built a peace that would last not through conquest, but through the clear demonstration that conquest against them was impossible. In the end, the galaxy had learned the most important lesson of all. The most dangerous enemies were often those who chose not to fight, until they had no other choice.